take flight. We're planting seeds of hope under starlit night. With hands in the soil, we're chasing the sun, building a legacy, a life just begun. Every brick's a story, every tree's a friend. Michigan road, the 45th parallel. The dreams in our hearts and stories to tell. Through sweat and through laughter, we're building it right. A home for the ages, we're shining through the night. Through seasons of laughter, through trials we stand.
Morning, everybody.
Hey, welcome back, everyone.
Welcome to Michigan Life Above the 45th Parallel. I'm Clarissa,
And I'm Jason.
and today we're going to be changing it up a little bit.
Yeah, something different up here on the property.
Yep, I got a little squeaky squeak in my brakey brake, so we gotta fix it.
Yeah, we got some new brakes ordered for the front. We're gonna go down there, get her front brakes done today, and take care of her squeak.
Yeah,
So something a little different. We're probably not gonna show you like all the steps,
no, but
but it should be pretty simple. So we're gonna go down and get that done today.
yep, it's changing what we normally would have done today, but you know, the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yeah, that's what needs to get done today. So definitely have squeaky wheels.
All right, well, here we go.
All right, tag along and see what we get done today, guys.
Well, I'm driving the car down there. He drove the four-wheeler. You can kind of hear that noise. Yeah, I hate that noise. It's the worst noise. So we're going to do my brakes. I'm so happy. I'm so tired of this noise. All right, here we go. Looks like it's sliding.
Alright, so not the safest way to jack up a car. We haven't got to our concrete pad. That's kind of what that's for, so I don't have to do stuff like this out in the dirt. I got a board under there. I got a jack stand and the jack holding up to one side. Normally I'd just like jack up the whole front end, take off both tires way quicker. But we're just gonna do one side at a time, try and stay safe as possible, but we are in dirt, so we got a jack stand and a jack. So hopefully next year when we gotta do stuff like this, we'll have this poured and then, you know, nice and safe and flat and level up there. But is what it is. We just haven't got to that project yet. We had to use that money basically to get our car back to square. So let's try and be safe today and not have any cars fall on us. So let's get the tires off. Most of the cars have a little wheel lock, got a little adapter, so you can't use a normal socket to get it off, so you always got to find a little adapter for it. Call it a key lock, wheel lock, something like that. Will be your mechanic's favorite if you go to your shop and you have this sitting in the seat or the cup holder. Your mechanic will love you for it. So, all right, what do we got here? Oh yeah, you can't see a darn thing, but so tires off. Those rotors were ass. I can see why. Hopefully, this box contains all the parts we need and they're correct.
Is that the pads you're taking out?
ratchet that far. It takes a long time.
Yeah.
If it's up in the air, I can use, and I don't have air. I don't have any of my stuff set up. Doing it the hard, long way. But it'll get her done. Save a couple bucks. Car won't be squeaky anymore. So most new cars will have a set screw down here to hold this rotor in place. Sometimes it's a little bolt on foreign cars. Most American cars, you have a little, it's called a T30 bit. It's a little star bit, I call it. But this is a little tool that helps break those free. If you go at it with like a ratchet or impact gun, you'll just snap off your little teeth on your bit or inside here, and then you won't be able to get this out, and then you got to drill it out. Kind of pain in the butt. So there's a little tool. A little impact driver. It's kind of like basically a screwdriver. When you hit it with the hammer, it kind of jolts it and works it free until it breaks it free. So handy little tool to have. Makes brake jobs a lot easier. That's why we had noise. Pads had health, but the rust had built up and the pads weren't contacting all the way, so it was catching and making a bunch of funky noise. We got original brakes on. It's a 2018, it's 2024, so we got 6 years. The car's paid off. First time doing brakes on it, 70,000 miles, so not bad. Everything looks good. All my pins are moving. That wasn't frozen, so that's good. And then I'm going to compress this caliper and make sure it moves and compresses fine. And if so, then all we got to do is put it together. So when you're doing a brake job, if your caliper doesn't compress in or these pins don't move, put new pads and rotors on there, you're just going to chew them up and waste them because you have a fault somewhere in your system. They're not going to work as intended. So we're good here, so I don't need brackets or a caliper or anything. But if you're doing your brakes and you find out like your slide pins in your caliper bracket or your caliper's not compressing, don't just do your brakes because you'll be wasting your money. You'll be doing them again because this part's going to cause them to fail early. So we're going to get this stuff cleaned up, open up our box, make sure everything fits, start putting it together. Carbon fiber ceramic. Ooh. So I got these same pads on my pickup truck. They work really well. I'm an OE replacement kind of guy, but on the brakes, I don't mind going with power stops because they're pretty good. If I wasn't using this brand, I'd definitely be using an OE. I'm an OE kind of guy. I feel like the products they give you, and this is a good kit because I get new boots for my pins. I get the new hardware, and it comes with the pads, little brake loops, so it gives you all the pieces you need to do a proper brake job. Some people say you can reuse your hardware and use the old stuff, but I feel like this is shinier. You lube it up, it's going to move. Your pads are going to move a lot better in there versus all this. Even if you clean it up, it's still not going to. Your pads have to slide in here, so when you compress them and release them, they do their job. If you reuse your old stuff, you're just asking for problems. So a good kit will have new hardware with your pads. And then we got her the drill and slotted rotors, just like on my truck. It helps cool down the rotors as you're braking, creates a little airflow. The friction it creates will heat these up, and then it'll kind of, you can cook your rotors or your pads. But with the drilled rotors, kind of helps out, lets it cool off a little quicker. First, I want to make sure they're the same size. So always match them up. Make sure you're dealing with the same size and you got the correct part. They're the same thickness. I'm just going to double check. Everything's good so far. And my bolt holes line up. So they're the proper ones. Sometimes this car, this particular model, you only have one set of brakes. Some cars will have multiple sets. You'll have different diameters, different thicknesses. So always double check that before you slap your rotor on. Putting it on may look like it works, but then actually when you start using the vehicle, it creates problems. So always double check. Even says front passenger side on this kit. It'll tell you exactly where it goes, so you can't mess it up and put it on the wrong side. Use that to tighten it up. Gotta hold your rotor in place so it's not kind of slapping around. It's always good to put it back. Brakes, I know it says front passenger, but your brakes should be same side to side. They're just different front to back. So, but I put the passenger side on passenger side. Ain't no different than the driver's side on these. Next step, grab your old hardware, your new stuff, make sure it matches up. Hardware can be same to the eye, but variants and differences. There's 1,000 different brake hardware or pad hardware designs. So I have a drawer full. Over the years, I've just extra collected. One thing I will say though, most people will just take the new one and slap it in here, but there is a layer of rust and buildup in here. So if you get a brush, clean that up. This will sit all the way down like it's supposed to, and your pads will slide good. If you just slap these on this rust, they'll fit, but they'll be really tight and they won't slide as easy as they should. So just that little 30 seconds of a difference of rust, if you clean that up, it'll create an easier path for those pads to slide in. And it'll give it the room, the height it needs for it to fit. Most people will skip this step when you're doing it not at home. Will the hardware fit in there? Sure. But it creates really tight tolerances in there, so I think most mechanics that do a good job will clean their brackets. Normally I have a little air tool and a little grinder wheel, and I clean this up really, really good. I'm going to see if brushing it will work. I may have to go back. Like this side's not as bad. So this side will clean up real nice. Look pretty much OE original. There won't be any gap in there because I can see aluminum here. So there isn't any buildup on this side. It's usually on the bottoms and the insides of the bracket. So this one cleaned up really well. See how it's nice and shiny. But this side, you can see it's a little pitted. So that's going to cause that hardware to raise up. So I'm going to have to go get something in there and scrape some of that out. If you notice on this side, it's not pitted. It's nice and smooth. So that's how you want it to look. We'll have to do a little work to clean up this side a little better. Alright, so tried the brush. Helped on one side, but left a little to be desired. So bust out power tool. Got a little brush on there. Should clean her up pretty good. Alright, so we're all cleaned up, a lot better. Got all that rust out of there. Now when we clip our hardware in, it sits down where it needs to sit. And we're good to go. Should get 4 pieces, 2 for each side, 1 top, 1 bottom. Make sure they click all the way in. Alright, next we're going to replace our boots because we got new boots, and we're going to lube up our pins. So get this old nasty stuff out of here. I don't have a rag, I'm just going to use my glove. Clean all this off. It's nice and shiny. They all kind of go in there differently. You just got to kind of, not too hard, all pull out. You'll see how it goes out. New one should look the same.
Except cleaner.
Yep, cleaner, newer. This should just pop in there. It'll work it in. There we go. And then the boot should sit flush all the way in there. Nice and even all the way around. I need another glove. Spread it out. You want it nice and lubricated. If it's not smooth and clean, there's some rust or corrosion on there, it's fine. A little sandpaper or something, clean it up. You want it nice and smooth so that it'll slide in and out and not catching anything in there. Slide your boot in, make sure it wraps around, in and out. Should be nice and smooth operation. A little bit of resistance. Looks, it's got a little suction in there. But see, if you let go, it should want to like pull itself in a little bit there, the suction. So do the other side. Second boot worked in. Let's lubricate our nice clean pin. You don't want to go super excessive, but you don't want to do that because then you'll get dirt and stuff in there. Make sure I don't drop any dirt in there. Good. Good. Last little thing, I usually throw a little bit down in the part where the pads slide. Just kind of lubricate it a little bit. And I do that now before I put it on the rotor, this back on there, because then it's hard. You'll start smearing this all over your rotor, which you don't want to do. So I pre-lube it before I put it on there. Alright, so that's all prepped, ready to go. Got our bolts to put these back on. Now, OE from factory, you always see some colored, it's called thread locker. They always put these on there because they don't want these bolts backing out. I happen to have some right here. Different colors, red, blue, depends on the strength. Really, to me, any. You don't have to do this step, but I feel like it's the proper thing to do. They put it on there for a reason, so I always duplicate. Same thing with replacing your boots. Your pads, you know, you don't have to go to the extent that I did, but to me that's the proper way to do it. I was a mechanic for years, so I do things proper. You can still do a brake job, skip maybe one or two of these steps, so it'd still work, but you're not going to get the longevity out of it. So I'm just showing you step by step how I do them and what I view as the proper way to do things. Just line my first bolt up on there. I usually put my thread locker back in the same spot. real close to it. It'll spread out when you spin it on there. Hand start those. Now we just got to tighten them down. Ratcheting wrenches. Love them. Tighten it up with a bigger wrench. There is a torque setting for this. Every car is different. I've done them enough to where probably pretty darn close, if not more than what it needs. With the Loctite on there, shouldn't go anywhere, and you don't want this going anywhere because then you'll lose your brakes. So nice and tight. Next step is to install the pads. Alright, so these won't say inside and outside, but they come in pairs. If you notice, this one has a tab, this one doesn't. That'll be one side. The other side will have no tabs. One side of a tab. The tab part goes on the bottom on the inside. So you got to figure out what your orientation is. The one without a tab is universal. It'll go on your outside. Either one can go here. So it don't matter. So we'll throw this one right here.
Why'd you put it in there?
And then this side, you got to figure out which one. You got to figure out the orientation. So you always want, the pad will be kind of rounded on one spot and smooth on the other. The rounded wants to follow the roundness of the rotor, the outside. If you put it in like this, will it work? Kinda, but it's going to be wrong, and you're probably going to have some brake noise. It's going to feel funky. It's going to wear funky. So always make sure you're oriented, round part out. If I do this one, it has the tab up if I'm following my roundness, so this is the other side. If I put this one in here, I follow my roundness, my tab's on the bottom. All that is, when your pad wears down, it's called a squealer. So that basically lets you know when it's time to replace your brakes. All this will wear down, and when it gets close to being worn, it starts touching this and it squeals. So put that on the bottom. If you put it on the top, some makes and models, you can't get the caliper to fit over it. It's in the way. So you always want to just throw it on the bottom. Clip in. I compress my caliper. I have a tool for it. You can use a big giant pair of pliers if you need. Always put your plunger all the way in so that it has room to slide over. Make sure your hose isn't twisted. Some people will twist their caliper when you prop it up here to get out of the way. If you put it on, it's twisted, it'll restrict your flow. You won't have very good brakes. So bolts. Pull the caliper back on. Just tighten it up, and we'll be done with this side. So it's done. Everything's tight. Everything's snugged up. Everything is lubricated. We cleaned it properly. So this side, these brakes should last quite a while again. From that side to the other side. I start them by hand so you don't mess up your threads. And And always do like a star pattern across from each other. Doesn't matter which way, but as long as you're crossing it in some sort of fashion, then you're going to tighten down the wheel properly. If I just start on this side and start just going one at a time, you're tightening this side of the tire down to the hub, and this side might be kicking out. By the time you get to this side, you've pinched the tire on the hub and the stud, so it's always good practice to doing a star pattern when you tighten stuff down. Always do the locking one last. You don't want this one super duper tight because you can blow out your little teeth in here. So still got to be tight so the wheel don't fall off. There is a torque spec for this. I think it's around 120 inch-pounds or foot-pounds, sorry. I know what this gun does. It's probably pretty close. I'm going to drop it down. I'll torque it after your tire's down. You could also go to like a local shop, be like, hey, I just had my tires off, did my own brakes. Can you guys check my torque? Most shops will come out with a little wrench, check them for you real quick in front of the store and not even charge you. They'll help you out most of the time. So if you are nervous about too tight or not tight enough, you can always have someone check it for you.
Moving on to the driver's side.
Rinse and repeat.
Hopefully. That was pretty. It's pretty easy on that other side there.
Number 2. Same process. Let's get the caliper off first. So this side's nice and smooth still with pad life, smooth rotors. Inside it's all rough, and you can see all the lines in it. And if you feel on the back side, the rotor's just as screwed up as the other one. Just a bunch of rust. So that's living in Michigan, living in the Rust Belt. If we're out west, down south, I probably don't wear my pads down as quickly on the inside because it's smoother and they look more like this, and I get a little more life out of them. But we don't garage keep our cars because we don't have a garage. If we did, probably would have been all right. But sitting outside in the winter, it kind of takes its toll sometimes. So, but the mileage we got, I think we're good. So, not too upset about it. Is what it is. Old hardware's off. pins. That one slides good. No rust. It was a little stuck, but it slides good. It was probably just the old. It can only travel so far in there, so the old stuff kind of dry up and kind of seize it, but it's not really seized. You just got to kind of break it free. So these are good. So we don't need any extra parts. That should be good to go. So let's get the caliper bracket off. You always want to compress your caliper first and your pins. Make sure, because if you don't have the parts, you're going to need to go get those, so you know right away. Send someone to go get parts, or you got to stop, go get them. So I always check that stuff first. If you do all the brakes and you wait to the end to compress your calipers, and that's the last thing you got to do, and put it on, you find out, oh, it's bad now. I don't know. I guess the sooner you know, the better. Solve the problem quicker. The bolt sometimes gets rusty at the ends, especially that bottom one. So if you look in here, when this is all the way in, the end of that bolt just barely sticks out. So rust will build up there, and when you're backing it out, it gets kind of crusty on the threads. So sometimes that bottom will be tough. But the rotor's pretty hitting there. Real rusty, so we weren't getting full contact. But we're fixing that today. Alright, let's get that set screw off. So think of this as a hand impact. It's kind of what an impact gun does, but you're doing it by hand. It's good to break stuff free with that tool versus stripping out the, the head on it or whatever nuts on it. It's a handy little tool. Squeak, squeak, squeal, squeal, squeal. No more. Alright, let's clean up this one. See what we're working with here. Alright, so that's the top side. Top side looks clean. I don't think I'll have to do anything else to that. Just brushing it should be good. See all the aluminum, nice and clean. No rust buildup. Hardware will go in there pretty good. Now this side's the bottom one, and again, like the other side, the bottom one usually takes most of the abuse. Being in a shop, I got like an air tool, little grinder wheel. Normally they have a big bench grinder with a giant brush on it. It spins, and you just go run this through there and it cleans it up pretty good. But I don't have that set up here yet, so we're doing it by hand. Looks like side's got some rust we're gonna have to grind off. So it sits in there, you can see it right here, not very smooth. So we'll grind that off. We'll grind this front so the front lays out nice and flat. You know when you don't have it clean, when you have your hardware in there and you go to put your pads in, there ain't enough room for it. And you're like, why my pads don't fit? They're not the right size. No, it's because you got a bunch of rust buildup in here and that hardware is raised up and it's pinching your distance here. So if you clean this good, you'll have that even distance and it'll slide in nice and easy. So it's all about the prep work on these. Let's go get the grinder wheel. Still not good enough. So let me get the hand rasp, and we got to get all this cleaned off on this side. This side's real rusty.
Something that's hilarious. Growing up, I would always see that tool in men's stuff. Now I know what it's for.
So, yeah, it's funny you say that. This is from my dad. I think he was cleaning out tools one day and I snagged it. So I remember as a kid seeing this tool in my dad's toolbox too, and it's kind of cool to use it. But anyways, so this side's all cleaned up, nice and shiny. All that rust is gone. So a little side-by-side comparison. This side clean, this side's still all raised and rough and pitted, so this, your hardware sits flat, this side doesn't. So let's clean up the other side, and then it'll look just as clean as that side. That's what we're kind of going for. Not going to get 100%, but getting this a lot closer is going to help out in the long run. It's a little minor step that most people skip, but as a mechanic, I always try to do things the right way, take the extra steps. Customers coming in, paying for a good job, so I would go the extra mile, make sure things are done properly. Can't speak for all mechanics. Some of these steps, like I said earlier, you could probably skip, and you know, yeah, sure, your brakes work fine, but I don't know. Do things the right way. That's what I say.
Starting to look shiny.
Yeah.
I thought that it was the other spot. I didn't realize that that spot needed to be.
Well, this is the front.
Yeah, but I didn't know. I thought that
all
it went
that area
inside.
is, you know, kind of where your hardware sits. So if you make it all flat, it all works as intended. Alright, we're looking much, much better. More gooder is what they say, so. Alright, so that step's done. Get our boots off, pins out, let's clean them up. Get the new ones in there, get this all lubricated. Grab a front, driver front. Make sure my little holes lined up with my threads there. Now by doing everything proper, I will say I'm skipping one step. I have no brake clean on me. Normally I'm spraying all these off. There's a little residual oil in there. Kind of sucks I don't have any, to be honest with you. But I forgot one little step, so shouldn't be a big deal. These are coming out of the bag pretty clean. Normally if they're really oily, this bag will be really yellow. So it was a good sign when I opened it. They're really clean. So they clean their brake pads really well because they get drilled. These holes have to be drilled out, and it's submerged in, you know, oil. And they do it, keep it cool, or oiling in the process of cutting it. So pretty happy that they cleaned them well. So it's not that big of a deal that I forgot my brake clean. Now if that bag was really yellow, I'd probably have to make a run up there somehow and get some or something before I did the brakes. Pins out. Keep this. Get that excess lube off of there. Make sure you're using the proper lubrication too, because this does heat up. If you use something other than a brake lubricant for your pins or your pads when they get hot during use, it actually cooks that material, dries it out, and then your pins stick. So I always use something that says brake lubricant on it, specifically for brakes. There's a reason they make different fluids for different stuff, so smart idea to use what they recommend. Someone must be talking about me. My ears are ringing. Hopefully it's good things. Alright. Make sure when you pop them on, your boots sit all the way and seal good here, and it keeps water out of there. Sometimes you'll get rust buildup on the insides of your pins, and the boots won't sit on there good. So as long as you have them sit on there good, it seals up, keeps the water out. Got hardware on there. Make sure that snaps in good. Now when you're lubricating your hardware here, I don't put a ton on there because the more you put on there, the more it'll collect all the brake dust and the dirt and stuff. And it can actually, if you over lubricate it, it'll get on your rotors, on your pads, and actually kind of maybe cause some problems. So this part you want to be kind of ginger, but enough to lubricate it, because this is where the pads slide, is on these tabs here in the brake pads. So you're lubricating the area where these pads slide up and down, is right there in the back. Sometimes pads will have a U shape here and it slides over the hump, so you want to lubricate all that hump. Each pad application is different, so just pay attention to how it sits in there. Lubricate that area a little bit. And then we're good with this. Let's put our Loctite on our threads. Make sure these stay. Start it with your finger. And ratchet it in. Okay. Outside pad, no tabs. All right. This one, follow the curve, and then my tab's down. So I know this one goes that way. Nice and easy. I slid it nice and easy. That means I got good gap in there and it's not too tight. If your pads are real hard to get in, you haven't cleaned your brackets good enough, or your hardware is not sitting where it needs to be, causing your problems. So, seen people struggle with that. All right, all lubed up. Just compressed. I don't see any wetness around my seal, so we're good there. No wetness on my hose. Slide our caliper on, line it up with the pins. Easy peasy. I've done hundreds of brake jobs, if not thousands, in my day, so easy work. For me, at least, have the proper tools and the knowledge. Even a little mechanical skill, anyone can do this, not super hard. Sometimes the most difficult part is getting nuts and bolts apart. They'll be rusty and stuck. Tight, tight. I didn't twist my hose when I put it back on. Make sure it's not twisted. We're good to go. Always slowly let your jack down, don't ever just drop it. It's always good practice to slowly settle it down, it's a little safer. Alright, I'm gonna go look for a torque bar so we can check these wheel torques.
What is that thing? Show.
It's a torque wrench, so you can set your foot pounds so you can torque bolts to spec, and it's adjustable. This is a small one, it only goes up to 150. The bigger ones go up to like 200-300, but these tires are like about $120, I think, for torque spec. So you can adjust it, and because every manufacturer has specs for nuts and bolts for everything you put on there. If you over torque things, you strip out threads, you weaken the hold down capability of that bolt or nut or whatever. So tires are kind of important. They spin. You don't want your lug nuts coming off. Sometimes people have ran into it. Shops won't torque their tires after they're done by hand. You might get a wheel flying off your car, some loose lug nuts causing problems. So just simple step, torque them down. I like to do it, and then it saves problems down the road. So it's just something I like to do. You don't have to do it. It's up to everyone.
Yay, guys.
Alright, well, test drive. Hopefully we don't die.
Yeah.
No, we'll be good. It felt fine driving down here, but we're going to go take it on the road. We got to take a trip into town.
Yep.
No noise through the driveway, so that's good. Brakes feel firm. The pedal's a little higher because it's not having to go as far to compress the pads because they're thicker.
Yep.
So, I think we're good.
All right, so here we go for a little test drive.
We'll test drive.
Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed what you saw today.
Yep.
And if you like what you saw, make sure to share.
Yep. And subscribe if you haven't subscribed.
Yep.
Never know, I might teach you something else about a car.
And
the brake job that we went over, it goes for any car. So it's useful for pretty much any brake job.
Yep. Same steps.
Yep.
And make sure that you hit your notification bell so you know when we put out new content.
Yep. You get notified as soon as it drops, and then you won't miss one.
Yep. Don't forget to comment.
Yep. Drop a comment.
Yep. And then what else we got?
Share.
Share. Oh, yeah.
Sharing is caring, guys.
Yes.
So, appreciate you guys hanging out today.
Everybody have a wonderful rest of your day.
We'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
In the heart of Michigan, where dreams take flight, we're planting seeds of hope under starlit night, with hands in